Hari Om, everyone.
Hari Om, how are you? Dandaka?
Good, how are you?
Doing good, Sumpi ji.
Murli ji, is last week's session on YouTube?
It's all on the YouTube, but we have not opened it up yet. So we will do that.
We will do that. I guess now is the time we will start doing it.
Okay.
We just want you to give a chance to skip this. No, I'm kidding.
I missed last week. Yeah, I need to catch up.
No. We will.
You asked the question for me. Thank you. Now I know I can get to the YouTube sometime.
All right, people, thank you for joining us again this Saturday. Hope all are having happy Navratri. And we are going to unmute you all now. We will begin in a minute's time. Okay, thanks.
Hari Om, everyone. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Navratri to everyone. I know you may be busy celebrating today, so after class you go celebrate also. We will have a nice class, some jnanam, and then some more joy after. So let's begin. Okay. Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvikhnam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varate Kamarupini Vidyarambham karishyami Siddhir-bhavatu me sada Samasta-jana-kalyani Niratam karunamayam Namami chinmayam devam Sadgurum brahma-vidvaram Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Hari Om. So we have seen the power of the mind. We have seen how this mind can be utilized and tuned to make it conducive to a happy life for all of us. And we have seen how, in making this mind more peaceful, more sattvic, we can learn to tap into that potential within all of us and find that thing within us which makes that dynamism come out. But now we have to learn how to utilize that one thing that produces such inspiration and dynamism within us to empower every other aspect of our life. So the next chapter that we enter into is entitled Empowerment. And so we will learn how to utilize that dynamism to empower every single different aspect within our lives. So let us enter into the third chapter. This human body is very limited, but the mind and intellect have a gargantuan capacity. This we can all see and we all know from our own experience. We can try even one thing right now. I want all of you here, in your mind now, you imagine you're in France, in Paris, standing next to the Eiffel Tower. Can you see it? Now bring your mind back here. Okay, take it to Paris again. See the Eiffel Tower? Okay, come back. Able to do it? Easily, right? In a split second, the mind can travel amazing distance. It can skip back and forth in time. It can plan elaborate schemes, create breathtaking displays of artistic genius, or generate sophisticated inventions. The capacity of this mind is amazing. And we see it displayed most beautifully in those who are intellect predominant. We've seen it in people like Albert Einstein or Srinivas Ramanujan. See, these people, they were not just bright, but they had one other aspect that really made them top. They were self-empowered. Many times in life, we may be brilliant, we may have a lot of capacity in one field, but if we are not empowered to utilize that capacity into expression, then it becomes of no substance. So this ability to empower ourselves tends to be the game changer many times. And this is what people like Einstein and Ramanujan, they had this sense of self-empowerment. Srinivas Ramanujan, he had to fight to publish his theories. No one that he worked with thought that he was onto something, but he never let that stop him. Via post in those days, he achieved communication with one professor at Cambridge University. And it was only through those correspondences that his mathematical genius was recognized. Albert Einstein. Einstein was put down by many of his professors. In fact, even when he graduated, none of them gave him a recommendation in the field in which he had studied. Einstein had to start his career in a patent office. That's where his first job was, as a clerk in a patent office. But he utilized the free time that he had in such a mediocre profession, mediocre for his level of intelligence. And you know what he did? He didn't let the circumstance bring him down and say, well, so much for my dream. He said, no, I'm going to utilize the amount of free time I have in this thing, and I'm going to go further into perfecting my theories. And from there, he established so much. The key factor in life is not only our intelligence or being able to find, like these ones, that thing which brings that potential out of us. But after that potential has been discovered, we have to empower ourselves off of it and use that dynamism no matter what life throws us at us. And this is the characteristics that we see in those successful ones in life. The mind and intellect knows no limits. But then the question is, why don't we achieve that limitlessness? The full span of our non-achievement is equal to the gap between our potential and our effort. Achievement is directly proportional to effort. And this we see not only in the secular world, even in spirituality this is given to us. In Yoga Vasishta, Guru Vasishta himself said to Bhagavan Sri Rama, O Raghunandana, in this samsara, in this worldly existence, everything indeed is always achieved in full by well-applied human effort. Sarvada sarvameveha samsare Raghunandana, samyak prayuktat sarvena paurushat samavapyate. Samyak paurushat prayuktat. Well-placed human effort. And so the lesson for us in life is, if we feel that we are not achieving where we're supposed to, and we don't know where we need to examine, so many different aspects may be there. This is the first thing we can consider. Where's my effort? And we consider all of the aspects of effort. Meaning, am I making the physical effort to accrue all of the proper resources around me? Am I making the effort to tap into my opportunities properly? Am I making the emotional and mental efforts to maximize my own personality, to make my own character as conducive as possible to these things? Am I maximizing my intellectual effort in this particular endeavor? Effort is the first factor in our self-empowerment. But this one we all know. There's a second aspect which is talked about in this text. And this is the one that we know it's there, but many of us are a bit confused. How do I tap into this? So this aspect, this second aspect, we'll spend a little time on. In this faculty of empowerment, we can elicit the aid of external complementary resources. And these are beneficial, of no doubt. But they are also limited and not infallible, meaning that they are subject to their own defects. And so if what I'm aiming for is my maximum success, then I cannot place my strength in supports which are also finite and fallible. So for those of us who want to aim for that ultimate success in life, then the question should arise to us, is there some source that I can tap into which will provide that unrelenting, infallible stream of empowerment? And this is our main factor here. This is why at the end of last week's class, I introduced an idea of a higher concept, a higher potential, because there is a powerhouse that lies within all of us. How to tap that is what we have to figure out now. So, in order to understand this, I'm going to have to go into a bit of Vedanta. So this class is not meant to be too heavy, but in little places we'll infuse a bit of Vedanta also. So, one concept I want to bring out here. In Advaita Vedanta, it reveals to us that there are three ontological planes of existence, three sattas. One is this transactional plane that we interact in right here, that we're all interacting in. The second is a bit beyond that gross, a more subtle plane of mental interactions in a way. And the third is that ultimate plane of existence, the ultimate reality. For the purpose of understanding the concept that I want to bring out today, we look at two out of these three sattas, these three planes. So one is Paramarthika Satta, the plane of the ultimate, means that which is beyond the gross, subtle, and causal. The plane of what we say Brahman, Atma, the highest reality. The second one is called Vyavaharika Satta. It's the plane of our transactional life, means work, school, relationships, life. Now these two sattas, the plane of spirituality, we would say, and the plane of the transactional, we tend to think are two separate entities. But that potent repository of empowerment, which I'm speaking of within, is Paramartha. However, the empowerment which I am seeking it to fuel is within my Vyavaharic level. So the question is, how do I bridge that gap? The ultimate plane of existence, we think, is something that exists above, untouched and untainted by everything here. And our transactional level is everything here. So there seems to be a disconnect. But in order to bring that potential out of us, we have to be able to connect to it to bring it out. So how are we going to bridge this gap? So the secret of this is revealed to us in Kena Upanishad. Kena Upanishad of Samaveda reveals to us that this Paramarthika Satta is actually inseparable from Vyavahara. It may not be tainted by it, but it is inextricably linked to it. It is said in Kena Upanishad, Pratibodha viditam matam, bodham bodham pratividitam. This is how it is elaborated in the Bhashya. What it says is, in every thought, in every intellection, in every transaction, that ultimate is intuiting, inextricable from the gross. Through every single atom of this creation, it intuits. Every particle vibrates with its inherent power, a substratum to every superimposition. This is everywhere around us. It's here also. How do we tap it? So I'll give an example to show nicely. Right around us right now, there are radio waves. Around me, around you, radio waves are traveling in the atmosphere. Can you hear music? No, we cannot hear. It has to be picked up by that radio, right? Until and unless the antenna of that radio is tuned, only then will it pick up that frequency and allow that unmanifest sound wave to manifest forth as sound energy. Similarly, we have to tune these equipments of this body, mind, and intellect. And only then, with that tuning, will it be able to tap into that ultimate source of empowerment and have that unmanifest manifest through these now. This tuning process is what we have to learn. Now that tuning process is described in many of our Prakarana Granthas, even Upanishads, so that if we want to learn, so come study with me later on again. But for now, for this class, just know that that means of tuning is there, and we will go into that. But coming back to the topic at hand, when we learn to tune in this way, we can find that ultimate source of empowerment and have it express. We can become that radio that can express it. Want to see how this works? There are stories throughout history of those who have successfully done this. So we'll give one story from scripture, and then I'll also give reference to people who we know in our lives, live example of how this is done. So first story from scripture. Where do we go for nice stories? Bhagavatam, Ramayana. So we'll take one story from Ramayana. So Bhagavan Sri Rama had been the faithful friend of Sugriva for decades. Even when exiled from kingdom by Bali, he could do nothing, could not stop it. Back when he identified as an individual, limited being, hadn't tuned yet. But after having met Bhagwan Sri Rama, what happened? So we'll take one episode. There is a beautiful episode of Bhagwan when Hanumanji was there standing on the shore at Rameshwara, surrounded by his army, all despondent, unsure of their abilities to cross that mighty ocean to Lanka to find Sitama. In that moment, one magnificent prasanga unfolded. So, close our eyes and let's go back in time now and let's experience what happened in that moment. So, Hanumanji is sitting there, eyes closed in meditation, meditating on the goal ahead. How will I achieve this? At that point, Jambavanchi sees, he says, yes, now is the time. The time for what? So there's a story within this story. So let's go back even further now to the pre-story. When Hanumanji was a little child, he was very strong, son of the wind god, blessed by Bhagwan Shivaji himself. So many devatas had given him powers also. Very, very strong little boy. But as most little boys are, very, very wicked. And so he used to use his immense strength to play tricks on one rishi. And this sadhu who he used to play these tricks on got so angry with him one day, he cursed him. He said, Hanumanji, you will suffer vismriti. You will forget all of your power. Most of your strength, you will even forget the capacity that is within you until you learn how to use it in the service of the Lord. And at that time, some wise one will come forth and awaken that power again from within you. Jambavanchi now stood there, watching Hanumanji. He's very wise. He said, yes, now is that time. He observed Hanumanji sitting, eyes closed in meditation, and he proclaimed out loud to Hanumanji there, Pavana Tanaya Bala Pavana Samana, Buddhi Viveka Vijnana Nidhana. He said, O repository of superior knowledge and keen wisdom, with a strength that rivals that of your father, the Lord of the winds, arise now. Hanumanji did not budge. He didn't move. See, what Jambavanji did first was he invoked Hanumanji's sense of power and strength, which was attached to his individual identity as Pavanasuta, as the mortal son of the wind god. Individuality, not totality. What happens to us when someone invokes our sense of individuality, our strength? You're the best at this job. I want this job for you to do. Only you are capable of this. We feel good. We say, yes, I'm ready. Bring it. I'll do it. Let me show you how this is done. Off of our own strength, we are ready to act when someone praises our ego. Hanumanji did not fall for this. Hanumanji had connected to something beyond his personal sense of ego. And because of that, these kind of praises didn't hit anywhere. Ego was under control. Jambavanshi said, good. First test passed. Next. Then he said, good, let me invoke the real source of your power now. And there's a beautiful chaupa in Ramayana. So I'll just sing that chaupa. It's really nice. He says, Kavan sud kaj kathina jagamahi jo nahi hovi tat tumha pahi Ram kaj lagi tava avatara sunat hi bhayau parvatakara. Rama kaji lagi tava avadhara. He said, awaken and claim the purpose for which you were born. The work of Bhagwan Rama awaits you. On hearing the name of his Lord, said Hanumanji grew to the size of an amazing, splendorous golden mountain, and he roared. He leapt from there straight across to Lanka. It said even the mountain that he was standing on, one commentary says the mountain he was standing on when he leapt went straight down to Patal Lok. That's the force that he leapt with. See the strength that comes out of us when we let go of personal ego and we tap into that higher source within us, highest and powerful. That same Hanumanji, who could not even help Sugriva when he was thrown out of kingdom by Bali, now sped across to face off with Ravana and decimate entire Lanka single-handedly. How? He turned inward. He found that source and he tapped in. He was sitting there in meditation, eyes closed, remember? And Gurudev has this beautiful saying where he says, turn inward. Climb the heights to reach the depths of that which echoes through to the core of your being. Act from there instead. The infinite can express through the finite. If we learn how to calm this mind and tap into even a fraction of that, we will be unstoppable. Now, this is an example of Hanumanji. We can say, well, actually, Hanumanji was Bhagwan Shivaji anyway incarnate. So maybe your theory is flawed. Bhagwan anyway was there. So let's see an example of real life then. Who do we know who's able to tap this potential? Who better than our Puja Gurudev? So there's one story of Gurudev where someone asked, some of you may have heard this story already. Someone asked Gurudev, Gurudev, you work 20 hours a day. You barely sleep 3-4 hours, then you're back up at it again. Don't you get tired? Gurudev laughed. He said, if I were doing all that, I wouldn't just be tired, I would be exhausted. But with Lord Narayana doing all the work, why should I be tired? We spend our entire life invoking our own individual ahankara. We act on the limited strength of flawed equipment. I will do this. Well, who are you? We have to be like Hanumanji. We have to remember where the real source of our power is and act from there. This is something that we're all capable of. We've all actually done this. Sometimes in small ways, sometimes in bigger ways. Many of you here, I know, you would have done Gita Parayana, different types of chanting. I remember there was once we were doing Bhagavad Gita Parayanam. Coming down to the end, I'm so tired and I'm thinking, I can't even read this book. My eyes are hurting so much reading Sanskrit script for 3 hours. And in that moment, once this had happened, in that moment I thought, why are you doing this? This is for my Bhagwan. Let that Bhagwan act through you and you offer it to that Bhagwan when it comes out of you. And I tell you honestly, in that moment itself, it's as though my eyes all of a sudden got strength. Like I stopped tapping into myself. So my tiredness went and that energy of Bhagwan could express. That thought that I'm offering this to my Lord made me gain energy again. And we finished chapter, energy was still there, even though 1 hour before I was more exhausted than at the end. And I'm sure all of you have had this experience at some point. We've even done it in big ways, and mothers must know this very well. You know, sometimes you survive things, you go through so much, and you think, how in the world did I do that? How did I manage all those things? If I had to go through that now again, I don't even want to think how to do it. But you did it then, didn't you? How does this happen? In these moments, Bhagwan is giving us a peek into where our full potential actually lies. It's sort of to incite us to want to find where is this coming from and how can I learn to tap into it. Because when we learn to tap that, then we can begin to consciously do it. This can be a sadhana for us in life now. It's not that hard to do actually. There's one tip we can give, one very practical, easy way to start doing this. So I can give a first sadhana, but you can start and practice it to reach to that level. There's a trick in Bhagavatam. Last week, Swami Krishnanandaji revealed this to us. How can we bring that sort of mindset? It's called Bhagavata Dharma. Meaning, Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmanava anusruta svabhava karoti yatyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayeti. Kaye na vacha manasendriyarva buddhi, through my body, my speech, my mind, my senses, my intellect, everything acts based on my vasanas, based on those flawed impressions that have shaped my character. But Bhagwan in Bhagavatam says, doesn't matter. Whatever it is you do with this Sanghata, with this assembly, you offer it to Bhagwan. Act with that mindset. I am going to do this now and I'm going to offer it to my Bhagwan. When we have that idea in our head, before we act, that I'm going to offer this to my Bhagwan, what happens? Suddenly I want to act a little better. Suddenly I want to do a little better. If I'm acting on my own strength, I'll say, this much it will do, done. But when I think, I'm going to do this for Bhagwan, if you put that little extra effort in, life becomes a little more beautiful. And I'll give you a personal example. My mother loves to make sweets. Diwali is coming up just now, lots of sweets. So rasgulla, gulab jamun, barfi, everything will be there. And she'll say, take some for your sister when you're going. So I find some kit, I pack it up, I say, this is enough for her and her husband. She has a baby can't eat. Okay, this much is enough. Let's go. And I'm bothered. But if she tells me, take some of this prasad, same instruction, take some of this prasad, but go and leave it in the puja room. We offer it first. I will take one nice thali, take all pieces, arrange them nicely, some little pattern, make it look nice, put one flower, one tulsi leaf. All these little things you add. Makes no difference. Same instruction, you're still just packing one set to take to someone. But look at the beauty that comes out when I think I'm going to offer this to my Lord. Imagine if every single act in our life became like this. We would do that little extra here and there. The beauty of our character would really express in all of our transactions. And this is where when we tap into that source, this beauty comes out. We have to remember where the real source of our actions are coming out of. And that's why in this third chapter, one of the main aphorisms which is given is Tasmat tam eva ashritya purusharthaha karthavya. Tasmat, therefore, tam eva ashritya, depending on him alone, taking ashraya in him alone, purusharthaha kartavya, all efforts should be put forth. When we remember the essence of our life, when we remember the essence of ourself before acting, actions can become a work of beauty. We all know that nice story of Sita Ma. When she was so pleased with Bhagwan, with Hanumanji, she offered him one stunning pearl necklace. What did he do with the necklace? He took it and he bit each bead and broke them in half. She was appalled. She said, what are you doing? This is a pearl necklace. He said, I'm breaking them to see if Rama is in here. Because if he's not, it's worthless. Everything in life becomes worthless, essenceless, unless my Rama is there. do we think from there? Do we act from there? It's not hard. If you think this is one of the easiest sadhanas we can do, because it's just a change of mindset. It's just to remember, just before I do some major act, bring my Bhagwan to mind. In fact, the hardest part of it is remembering to bring that thought, that I have to remember Bhagwan now. The act itself is not difficult. Easy sadhana that we can employ. And when we can do this, life becomes Shobhanam, Divya, Sukham. So beautiful. So this is one aspect. You see how these two parts come together. In self-empowerment, human effort must be there, as Guru Vasishta said to Bhagavan Sri Rama. But the higher aspect of empowerment must be there. Always begin by tapping into that source, offering it. Depending on him alone, efforts should be put forth. This is Guruji's aphorism for this chapter. Now there's a disclaimer at this point. Even when we're able to act using that higher mindset, we have to remember it doesn't mean obstacles won't come. Correct? In fact, the major aspect of those who are seen to achieve out of their self-empowerment in life are not just those who act, but they act intelligently, anticipating obstacles. Once we're smart, we know obstacles will have to come, but they continue on in spite of those obstacles. So this is where it gets real a little bit, because we can all say, I'm going to offer all of my actions to Bhagavan, I'm going to live in that blissful bhava. But when an obstacle hits us, then what happens? Are we still that sweet and gracious old Bhagavan? It's all, let that obstacle hit you and see what happens. So tips for life mastery and happy living, right? So these are the tips that we really want to know how to fix. How do I face it when that obstacle comes now after? So think, when that obstacle comes, how many of us turn into Arjuna? Means Arjuna, first chapter in Bhagavad Gita. I give up. I throw my bow and arrow aside. I will not fight. No, I'm not doing it. Or the opposite reaction. Oh, Hatos me. I am so despondent. I am so distraught. What to do? Oh Bhagwan, the Gandiva blow, it slips from my hand. I feel so tired, so weak. I cannot even stand. My body burns all over and my mind whirls around in confusion. This was Arjuna at the end of that chapter. He said, Kandivam shamsate hastat tapchaiva paridahyate nacha shaknomyavasthatum brahmativa cha me manaha. Oh Bhagwan, problems. We have to laugh at this. Huh? This is us. We may deny it now because everything seems fine. But when problems hit us, this is us. Oh Bhagwan, what to do now? So which one of these do we turn to? Either way, this is not the right response, okay? You should know better than this by now. So what is the correct way then? What's the way that we should respond when these obstacles hit? So we look at two solutions. First mindset is, if God has brought me to it, He will bring me through it. Full stop. Find that strength in yourself. The infinite resides here and you know it. Don't pretend. Many times in life, I feel it's as though we want a little trouble. You know, someone says, Bhaiya, how is life? How is everything? You say, smooth, beautiful, everything is going nicely. I think it's time to cause some trouble now. Every time, this mind, I tell you, every time everything is going smooth and nice, mind says, okay, time to cause some trouble. This ego is always ready to mess up every good situation. That ego itself is where the problem is. But it's where the solution lies also. Meaning, when these situations hit us, we invoke sattvic ahankara. every time that little immature rajasic ego decides to bare its head, I want you to grab it by the collar and say, no, not this time. You're not going to take over. You grab him and you throw him out. Invoke that sattvic ego within ourselves, that sadhaka ahankara. That is what will help us triumph when that obstacle comes. Muster that fortitude and self-confidence to march forth taking the higher road. It doesn't matter what the circumstances or what the other person is doing. I will hold my poise. There's one quote actually, one of the very few respected politicians that we have, his wife actually made a very nice statement. She said, what did we learn from our term in office? That when obstacles come, and when they go low, we go high. When I heard this quote, I said, that's beautiful. When they go low, we go high. We don't have to bring ourselves down to the level of the others in our situation. Going high at our level, what does it mean? It doesn't mean you don't feel disturbed at the situation or that you don't get hurt. We are entitled to have emotions. It's okay. But going high means you pull it together and your response must reflect the solution. Because if our response comes from a place of lower emotions, then we are no better than the other one whom we are condemning. Anger may feel fulfilling in the moment, but it's not going to help the solution. And neither is it going to raise our caliber in facing and triumphing in life. So this is the first thing. Invoke that sattvic ahankara. So when that Arjuna disease hits us, for majority of situations in life, this is the one thing we can try to see if we can tap into that sattvic ahankara and bring that out instead. Don't let that rajasic ahankara take hold. Majority of situations this can work, but there are a few extreme circumstances in life where we may not be able to muster that strength in ourselves. So I'll give one other tip now. Like I said, 2 solutions, right? So this is tips for happy living. So one tip we'll give here and there. It's not an exhaustive study, but it's a beautiful text because, it doesn't overwhelm us. It says, try this thing. That doesn't work. It's okay. We'll do another text. No problem. But you want a nicer relationship with your spouse, try this. Want better interaction with your child, try this one thing. Maybe it might work. So one tip Puja Guruji gives so nicely, and it doesn't feel overwhelming. So the same thing we'll do here. So one tip given on how to overcome general obstacles will work for 90% of life if it tunes with us. Now I'll give one other little tip for maybe there's circumstances that might be a little bit extraneous. If there's those times when I really cannot find that strength within myself, means what should I do when I feel overwhelmed in life? The answer is you become the next Arjuna, the one at the end of his rantings when we enter into chapter 2 now. What did that Arjuna say? He said, Karpanya doshopahata svabhavaha prichhami tvam dharma samudha chetah yatshreyasyaat nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. Bhagwan, my heart is overpowered. I just don't know anymore. You tell me decisively what is best, and I will do it. I surrender to you. I seek refuge in you. Whatever you guide, I will do. Genuine surrender. Because there will come those unfortunate moments in life when sattvic ahankara, no kind of ahankara is going to win. Actually, even our own ahankara is decimated at that point. Two options are there. So, first one, invoke that sattvic ego. Rise above the situation. Be a Swami Vivekananda. Second situation, genuine sattvic surrender. Open our mind and our heart to listening to the solution when Bhagwan sends it. Become a Mira Bhai. Lose yourself in that devotion, and Bhagwan, what has to be, you make it be. There is no third option. There is no, I will show you how to handle this thing, I can do this, that. Take that little self-centered rajasic ego and you throw him out. When that third one acts up, examine it, huh? You have to do parikshanam. See how that selfish ego acts. When it acts, when an obstacle hits, what happens? We never deal with it well. We lose time, we lose patience, we lose confidence. We cause arguments, we lose friends, we lose business colleagues, we lose opportunities, we lose money. Most importantly, we lose ourselves. When that Rajasika Ahankara acts up, you do things, you act in a way and you think, why did I act like that? You lose your sense of self. And this is the worst loss. And even Guruji comments on this. In the commentary, he says, many people are always interested in asking how to regain my patience, how to regain my confidence, how to regain my friends after I have lost them. He says, but most are not interested in learning how to retain them in the first place. Means once you've lost them, it's difficult to get it back. Just don't put yourself in that situation to begin with. So it means act according to the first two. Use those sattvic forms of reaction. Respond, don't react. And now that we know it, we can do it. And if we can, we must. So, this much for today. This is our exploration into empowering ourselves and tapping into that higher source of empowerment within us. So I hope some were able to benefit from this. We'll close now, and then if there's questions, then we can take after. So after Purnamada, we can unmute and people can ask for themselves questions. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So Hari Om everyone. For those who have to leave, please enjoy your Navaratri. Hope you had a beautiful 9 days and happy Dashera tomorrow. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Jyoti, if I may, I have a small announcement to make.
Sure, please, please.
Hari Om, everyone. Jyoti, thank you. Hari Om, everyone, for joining. Tomorrow is Vijayadashmi. A year next year on Vijayadashmi day, CIF will start a Vedanta course, year-long course. And those of you who can take a year off for sabbatical, please look at that. I will try and share my screen here. And this is the information here. This course is in CIF 21-22 Vedanta Sadhaka course. It starts on Vijayadashmi day next year. And as you will see, it is for the ages 32 to 65. So I guess all of us on this can go. I don't know how many of you have been to CIF. CIF is a place to visit. CIF is a place to stay back and enjoy the nature as it is. And remember, it is the birthplace of Swami, you know which one is it, right? Our Shankaracharya. And we have in our own ashram, Shankaracharyaji's birthplace. So please look at it. You must have seen this in your email. It is also on Chinmaya publication site. Once again, it starts next Vijayadashmi and all the information is here. If any one of you needs me to send this to your email, email me please. My email is hegde, which is HEGDERS @gmail.com. Thank you very much. And Jyoti, off to you.
So are there any questions anyone would like to ask? Oh, 1 second, only share screen comes off. See, Ramesh Uncle has a question. Hold on, let's just get the share screen to come off and then we'll take questions.
Give me just a second.
Sure, sure. Let me scroll through. If anyone else has a question, you can raise your hand also.
Okay, there we go.
Okay,
Go
Ramesh
ahead.
had a question. Hari Om, Uncle.
Hari Om, Hari Om. You just told me that respond, but don't react. So still, I want to know how to come in sattvic ego or what, I don't know.
Okay. So thank you for asking that, Uncle. So this is one little quote that I had heard before. You know, respond, don't react. Meaning what happens, entire of life is based on this reactional basis. Something happens and we react. I saw this video on neurology once that talked about our conscious and subconscious mind. And it said more than 90% of our decisions are made before we think we make it. The way we train our subconscious mind determines the majority of our character. And I'd seen this interesting video last week I shared with the chicks. See, Mama is here, the Valviharas. We showed them that video where they said, do you like ice cream? Okay, snap your fingers and make yourself stop liking it. You can't do it. Do you like sports? Snap your fingers and make yourself stop liking it. We can't do it. Our subconscious substratum of the tangible mind, it's so set already that very few of our decisions we're actually consciously making. So the first step is we have to retrain that subconscious mind. That's what we call our conscience. That makes so many of our decisions just like that. We have to train it, retrain it. And how do we do that? Sattvic ahara. Means we have to start taking in more sattvic things. And you'll notice for yourself, if there's a time when you didn't attend satsang, to now when you started attending regular satsang, or if there was a time when you didn't read so many spiritual books, but now you started reading, you hopefully will notice that your responses have blunted at least a little. You don't respond as quickly, you don't get as angry, you don't fire off as fast. You may still do it, but at least you pause before now, and then you still do it. And with practice, the pause will become bigger, and you'll actually start thinking a little bit more before you react, so that your spur of the moment reaction will eventually be able to turn into a well thought out response. So in this way, that's one aspect of it. Responding, not reacting. The far reaching implication is actually a retraining of our baseline character, which comes through practice. In the first chapter of this book, Guruji said, Abhyasa. Practice, practice, practice. And as we go on, more and more samskaras will be created. Positive samskaras will replace those negative samskaras. Even the negative samskaras are there. There's one beautiful example given in Yoga Vasishta, where it talks about Shubha Vasanas and Ashubha Vasanas. And there Guru Vasishta says, just retrain your mind to flow along the channel of Shubha Vasanas. Retrain your mind, and as you continually practice, the right response to situations, that tract that was created for passing through and responding wrongly will, as with all tracks, when you don't use it, it will become overgrown by bushes. No one will pass there again. And the track that you walk on all the time, all the bushes will get trampled down and it will remain a strong, heavy track. Your mind will naturally go that way. And it will be blunted from going the wrong way. By practice and practice, we retrain our neural networks itself, reconnect in this. And as we continue to practice that behavior, the mind itself will naturally flow along that pathway. There's a neurological aspect to this too. That the more we practice one activity, it becomes myelinated more and more, meaning that the electrical impulse will travel faster along that line than the others that are not practiced. So in this way, when we train ourselves in certain behaviors, naturally even our reaction will become a good one. Our reaction will become the response that we were trying to inculcate before. So it's all about retraining the mind in this way. There's a scientific aspect to it, and there's a spiritual, definite aspect to it there also. So I hope this answers your question, Uncle. Hari-Om.
Hari-Om, thank you.
Any other questions?
Jyoti ji, I sent a question in the chat.
Oh, would you like to verbalize it, or would you like me to?
Yes, definitely. It's basically, my question is, you talked about taking the high road. When somebody goes low, you go high. It's very common in workplace where, we spend 10 hours a day and there is so much rat race that, even if in subconscious mind, okay, I'm not going to say anything bad, I'm going to think, it just comes out. So how do you deal with that? And then that comes home with you from work, right? So how to balance, or where to even start?
That's the common problem. We all fall into that. And what happens when we work out there in the world, it becomes difficult because the world itself seems to be designed to bombard us. So much tamas and rajas comes in at us. How do we maintain our sattva? And then also when we are tired, means naturally tired and exhausted, our sattva itself will not be able to keep its level. Tamas is overpowering at that point. So part of this is, like I had alluded to Uncle's answer. The first part is retraining your baseline character. That won't work now. So exactly what you're doing, Hitama, attending satsangs and all of these things are samskarizing you. Creating that foundation, which will make it easier and easier eventually to react well in the situation. So it's subconsciously working on you already. That aspect you're doing. The second aspect is right now, before I reach to that stage eventually, right now, what to do, right?
Yes.
So right now, the issue is when I react to those things, it's because I feel overpowered by it. Chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita talks about this. Rajas only expresses when it overpowers sattva and tamas. Similarly, sattva will only express when it can overpower my rajas and tamas. So if things are coming at me which are just too negative, I need to find something in me that can immediately inspire that sattva in me. And in certain circumstances, if you begin to do this consciously, and I'll give you an example. I know Nitama has a son and a daughter, right?
Yes.
So remember when they were babies, remember when they were smaller. If, let's say you're driving in your car, maybe your husband or whoever, driving in the car and someone gives you a bad drive. Husband or whoever, maybe in his earlier days, may have wanted to give some choice words or some response, But if those two babies are in the car, there's no way he's going to do it. Why? My love for my child overpowers my hate for that person. That exact situation where kids were not in the car, you would have reacted however you wanted to. This is an example of someone's mind who is, at this point in time, rajasic enough to react badly. How come that same person at that same time, not having built any sattvic foundation or anything, can still in that same situation at that same time do the right thing? Because something else I found to tap into, which can give me a greater inspiration and trump the other situation. So this is one thing we can try to search for in ourselves. Find that happy thought, find that empowering thought, find that inspiration. Keep one or two of them at the back of your mind. And when those situations come up where you're like, I really don't want to react this way, try and bring that. See if it overpowers enough to help you gain some control. And the other one is little by little, your general foundation is building also, till you reach a point where you just won't bother to respond.
Thank you.
Hari Om. Any other questions? Ram, uncle, did anyone send in any questions? Oh, uncle, you're on mute.
I don't see any questions come up yet, but I guess someone has unmuted. Anilji, you have a question?
Oh, Harsha Amma has a question also.
Well, I did that
Yeah.
inadvertently, but I will make a recommendation or suggestion to maybe we can incorporate one or two real life situations, maybe from your own experience or maybe someone's, how they tackled a given situation patiently without anger and how they overcame that kind of situation, possibly. Thank you.
Okay, we can look for some situations known and we can share also. Okay, so I can look for that too. Thank you, uncle. It's a good advice actually in all pravachans, in all speaking. If you can give real life examples, it tends to hit in a different place. So that's the general advice uncle gave actually. In all my talk, I'll try to implement that. Thank you, uncle.
Thank you.
Harsha, I had a question also.
It's actually my son Rishi wants to ask you something. It may or may not be related to the topic. Is that okay? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Rishi. Okay. Everybody are waiting. You got to be careful.
Wait, I sometimes like in the middle of my work, I get distracted. So how do I overcome that?
Aw, that's a very good question. In all of your work, or especially in that work that you don't like doing?
The online school.
Online school, I thought that was it. Very good question. Rishi, even I get distracted in online school, don't worry. See, this is a nice question because it's a testimony that people need people. We need to connect, you know? There's something that happens when we're able to connect with each other. That question brings out another beautiful aspect in us. This online thing, this is the reason why they say Guru Pasadanam. You come and you sit at the feet of the Guru. And Swami Swarupanandaji had dealt with someone very nicely when they had made that statement also. That if everything is online, why can't I just go online and study and perfect myself and, learn Vedanta? And Swami Swarupanandaji told them, yes, and when you come up with problems, you go online and ask. There's no direct answer. When you go to the Guru and you can say, this specifically is my problem. Guru can say, this specifically is your solution. You go online and ask the program your problem now. What will it say? Online will always be difficult because that human touch is not there. And I sympathize with Rishi. So in that situation, what's happening is mind already has too many distractions. Devices, the issue is devices, children have already associated with fun and games and play. So it's hard for them to recondition their mind that this thing is now educating me. So that natural distraction will always be there. Focus is the only answer to this thing. But you can't teach children focus just like that. Amma, one technique you can probably try is before his classes start, you sit with him a little, bring his mind under control. Maybe even do some meditation. Sit and chant Om a few times. Some stotram he may like, something, bring it so that his mind becomes more quiet and focused. And when he enters into that study class, no distractions around. You just don't have him in the middle of the kitchen doing his class. Put him in his room, quiet, absolute focus. That's the only thing I can offer for this. But a distracted mind is a mind that's going everywhere. So the answer is focus. Find a conducive way of bringing focus first. And once you start with that foundation, it should be able to stay. But naturally, mind will stray in between. You can't help this too much. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Jyoti ji, I have one more question. It is 2 past 12. Can I ask, can we get that answered or?
I don't usually like to go past timing because I respect it's a Saturday, people will have their things to do. So if the person who has the question wants to stay back, then I'll just do one short chant and close. And those who need to leave can leave. And with that one person, I can stay back and speak with them. It's okay,
Sure.
because I don't want to keep anyone else down.
Yeah, sure.
Om Shri Guru Namaha. Everyone, enjoy your moment.
Leela ji, if you want to stay back, we will ask your question.
Just give 1 minute for those who need to sign out.
All right. So the question is, Jyoti ji, what is total surrender to God? How do we get on that path?
So total surrender to God is almost the end of that path. So means how do we enter onto it now to eventually get to there? I hope you all can hear me clearly. It just began raining, so there's a lot of background noise. You're able to hear me well?
We are able to hear you okay. Yeah.
Sorry, it started raining during, so I think some noise must have come through. Now it's begun even harder. Okay. So the path to entering that total surrender to Bhagwan is what I gave during the lecture. That's the best advice that I've heard so far. That Bhagavata Dharma, that Swami Ramakrishna Nandaji had expressed to us. I found that was the best thing for me also. Everything that I do, the beauty of that is that it begins at where I'm at. Whatever I'm doing with my body, my mind, my intellect, my senses, it's based on the samskaras, the impressions that are in me already. So it means it's going to be flawed. It's going to be substandard. Bhagavata Dharma is so beautiful that Bhagavan says, however you are, you come to me. No problem. So Bhagavan says that whatever actions you do, the only thing you have to do is remember to bring that thought just before you do it. So don't do it for everything in life. Choose certain things now just to build the samskara. Eventually it will come faster. So say just before I cook every day, if it's a mother, then just before I cook every day. If it's a father going off to it, just before I sit in that car. Then every time I exit that car, or every time before I open a door, I tell myself, so make some particular thing which is a trigger that reminds me, whether it's cooking or a car door, whatever itself. That's my trigger for remembering this thought. What thought? What I'm about to do after this, I'm going to offer it to Bhagavan. Even if I don't do my best, I'm still offering it to Bhagavan. When you try this, you'll realize automatically you'll want to act your best. You'll stop wasting words. You won't waste time as much. You'll put a little extra effort into what you're doing. And with that thought that I'm offering this to Bhagavan, mind begins to retrain itself. And you're not trying to do perfect. You're saying, Bhagavan, whatever I'm doing based on my own samskaras, I'm offering this to you. So it becomes a mode of surrender. And little by little, if I choose one trigger for the day that I use, whenever that thing is happening, I bring this thought. By practice and practice, the thought will come more and more. And I will have entered onto that path of surrender, surrender, surrender. Then I add more triggers. And little by little, eventually that total surrender can also come. I found that was really nice tip Swami Ramakrishna Nandaji gave us. That's the best one I can give you for beginning on that path to total surrender. It's so easy. You just have to bring that thought to your mind. I'm going to offer this now. So I hope that answers your question, Leelaji. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Hari Om. Any other questions from anyone who's left?
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Okay, so I think that's it. So we can close now. Hari Om Tat Sat. See everyone. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om, Jyoti. Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om.